Hey, hi, hello. This is a monster that I made about 4 or 5 years ago, right? I wrote it as something that can corrode metal, spit acid, and is very difficult to kill because you have to kill the core, and you can't just like cut a slime and expect it to die. And this is that very same enemy brought to life, like last month. The reason I'm showing you this is because I want you to understand that the time difference in between when you come up with the idea and when you implement the idea is going to be fucking massive. It's not going to be immediate. There's going to be a very long time before you take the things that you've built and turn them into things that actually move. Everything that we're doing here is to create a launch pad for you to develop, right? Or a future team to develop, or something else. I don't know, a fucking deity. Who knows? All right. The point is, I need you to dream wild, dream big. Let me explain this a little bit. Okay, so assume this is your idea right here, right? What you need to do is grow outwards very large until your idea is like this big. And the reason we want to grow outwards as much as possible, as opposed to just thinking about what is feasible to do for your game and do this and really get this right, is because you're going to cut shit. Don't end up boxing your ideas in when they could be this big and you could box them in up here. What happens during development? It doesn't matter what the medium is, actually, whether you're world building for books, video games, for music, for TV, for movies. There's not a single creator in existence that has been able to get everything they are thinking onto the page. There's absolutely no one that has been able to get everything into their work. Even Tolkien came up with a fake language. That shit took him 20 years from the age of 16, and then he spent the rest of his life world building, and it still wasn't enough. You're going to have to cut shit out. And when you're cutting out big parts, like let's say we have cut this for production, we have cut this for production, we have cut this, we have cut this. That's a lot we cut out, right? It's about this much. But when we have to cut for this, every little piece that we cut feels horrible, right? Every little bit we think is absolutely necessary for the vision that we're creating here. And we keep saying to ourselves, anything that's lost is subtracting from the vision, as opposed to this, where we have so much free room. All this space, all this shit that is necessary and unnecessary, there's lots here to get rid of. There's lots of fat. There's no fat here. And so everything we cut, it draws blood, right? It draws a lot of fucking blood. We bleed out. And it ends up being around the same amount that we end up cutting, right? And this is all because of the magical word scope. The scope of your world is going to influence the way that you develop your game. I don't know what genre you're making, but I can only assume that if you're coming to a video like this and you're new to this, you don't know how bad it gets. There's going to be a point in which you say, I just want to get this shit out. And you're going to be willing to cut whatever the fuck you can. And there's a lot of fat here. So, but before I go deeper into this video, I want to set some expectations. There's some things I'm just not going to talk about, and that's because they've been covered to fucking death. The reason I'm making this video at all is because when it comes to world building, the world building is really taken up by three types of people, right? We have the concept artists, we have the TTRPG guys. These are your World of Warcrafts, your Pathfinders, and then we have actual fucking authors. As I'm sure you're aware, video games are a synthesis of every other medium. Music, art, writing, game design, it all coalesces here. And the lessons that you're picking up from these videos, I assume you watch those videos if you ended up here. The lessons you're picking up from these videos are really tuned very well to these particular mediums. In TTRPGs, the idea is you have a session and it has to be fast because you have players that are only so interested in your world. In concept art, you can go as wild as you want, but the assumption is you know how to draw. And in writers, of course, they have to know how to write, but they also have to be able to construct their world in a way where the reader is carefully guided to each and every landmark that they want to point out. Basically, some are fighting for your attention, some are fighting, yeah, for your attention again. It's just like fast attention as opposed to direction. And video games are really none of these things. We're not really concerned about how fast you move through the world, or what landmarks I show you right away. Like, they're important, but they're not everything. And that's why I'm making this. The things I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about the 101 of world building, okay? Like, I'll touch on it for a bit just to give you an idea of the structure, but I'm not going to tell you exactly how the plates move and exactly how climates form and what shape your planet has to be in for clouds to end up in the places they end up. All of world building is an act of research. And it's completely up to you. It's 100% your agency that determines how much research you want to fucking do. I'm also not here to write a narrative for you. right? I'm not here to write your story. You can't really make a story without the world in the first place. Trying to write a story without writing the world is akin to writing in your travelogue before you've even left the airport. Like, there's nothing to see yet. You have nothing to write about. You have no foundation yet. This is 100% going to be up to you or your consultant or your writer, or whoever the fuck is on your team, or if you're doing it alone, your imagination. So I think I got everything down pat. And listen, I could talk about this stuff, but that'd be like a 10-hour video. And while I'm happy to make a 10-hour video, I have my other projects. I have my own things to work on, okay? I can't sit here doing this all day, every fucking day. Otherwise, my work wouldn't get done. If you're having trouble with world building, there are a lot of consultants out there, and I think the rates these days in the year 2025 go in between $20 an hour and $150 an hour. And I think this depends on the complexity. It depends on like how on exactly what it is that you're asking of the consultant. And while not all of them are good at what they do, sometimes all you really need is a second opinion. And for that, GPT is really good at bouncing your ideas. Do not use it to generate ideas. GPT comes up with terrible fucking ideas. GPT ideas are literally everything that has come before. GPT will put you into a fucking box and you will never be able to escape. Your ideas will never be able to escape. Morrowind is all the way the fuck out here, okay? That's Morrowind's world. Ice and Fire, all the way the fuck out here. GPT will put you here, and it might link to these somewhat because it knows them, but it's not able to come up with new solutions. So do not use GPT to write the fucking world. That's not going to save you. It's going to make for a boring and dog shit world. And of course, I do game consultancy, right? That's my thing. If you want to get in contact with me, so I look at your fucking world, fine. I charge 60. So do not come to me unless you know what the fuck you're doing. Don't waste your money, okay? And if you can do it by yourself, please do it by yourself. I don't want people to come to me, spend fucking 300 and then walk away with basically nothing. Come to me with fully fleshed out ideas. Don't come to me with nonsense, okay? Save your cash where the economy's not doing too hot. Okay, before I teach world building, yes, I know. we're we're like fucking 8 minutes into this. Before I teach you world building, first I need to teach you how to distill knowledge from something that is inherently meaningless. Let me explain what I mean. Okay, so let's say you have a mood board here. This is a collage of pictures that I got from Pinterest that I'm using for an unannounced project. Um, I'm going to teach you how to break these things down and draw inspiration from them because apparently this is actually kind of difficult unless you've been trained in it. All right, so we're going to go with a 4-step method, and I will walk you through. Fear not. All right, everything that I'm about to talk about here is stuff that you should learn from design school. If you don't learn from design school, uh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you missed out on this. And I'll repeat this again in case it wasn't clear. You do not need to be a fucking artist. Actually, I'm not repeating this. I've never said this before. You don't need to be an artist. You don't need to be a writer. You don't need to be talented to do anything that I'm about to do here. Okay? Everything that I'm talking about is doable by people from the age of 8 to the age of 80. All that's important here is your intent. Do you know how to measure your intent? Do you know what the fuck it is you want? Can you make decisions? Can you make choices? That is all we're doing here, okay? You don't need a special talent. I know there's like fantastic world builders out here on YouTube, and they do these fantastic fucking things. You're like, there's no way I could fucking do that, especially for a video game. It's out of my depth. It's doable. It's doable, okay? And like I brought up with the fucking slime before, a lot of what you're doing here is you're building a foundation for future you. That is not a slime. That is not my slime. My slime is like gelatinous, like jello, like pudding. Everything that you're doing here is for future you and for your future team to figure out. It's your fantasy team, okay? If you can do fantasy football, you can do this. All right, let's do the method. So step one, why did I do it all this time, is going to be keyword association. What we're doing when we're getting a keyword is we are getting the knee-jerk reaction. I should type that. You're going to get a knee-jerk reaction from what it is you see, and you're going to write 1 or 2 words to associate with it, okay? Once again, I'll walk through this with you. First, let me write out the other steps. So step 2 is going to be gold digging. It doesn't matter if it's broke. Your job is to find the gold in a work, whether that be a book, a movie, a TV show. This is just a bunch of images, right? This is just a mood board. You can extract knowledge from fucking anything. You're going to find the best part. I like how I typed one part and now I'm not typing anymore because it's faster this way. Step 3, remember, you're going to write these things down. Step 3 is going to be the altar. You're going to move into a more negative headspace. I don't know if this takes meditation for you. If you're a fucking cynic like me, then this is super easy because you're always in a negative. Your job is to find the worst part, the very fucking worst. And if you're looking at a piece, it doesn't matter how artistic or how beautiful it is, and you can't find anything negative about it, that's because you're still not cynical enough. You still haven't moved to that fucking headspace, okay? This is just between you and your work. The author is not going to hear you. Whoever the fuck made this piece is never going to see this. I hope they're never going to see this. Don't comment if you see this. It's nothing personal. Please don't. Oh God. Synthesis, right? And finally, in synthesis, we are going to use these keywords. We are going to make something that has all the upsides of work and none of the downsides. Once again, you don't have to write any of this down if you can do it in your head, but I recommend writing it down because like keeping track of your notes is going to be super easy compared to like, trying to think, what was that thing I was doing again? This synthetic thing is now your new ideal. This is your goal. This is your vision. And it is what you will forever chase and never reach. Welcome to the joy of creation. Okay, so let's break something down. Let's do this girl here. It's a bit blurry because it's low res, but okay, whatever. What do I like about it? The first word that jumps to mind is pastel, right? That's the mood. Pastel. I should use a different color and a thinner brush, right? That's the mood. The vibe is pastel. The best part about her, the best thing that I like, I just love the proportions. I love how big the feet are. I love how big the hands are. I like the small torso with the larger appendages. It reminds me of like Harvest Moon characters, like in A Wonderful Life and such. I like that. So proportions, I love proportions. That's the best part. And then what I don't like about her is simplistic highlighting. I would prefer for that to be real highlighting with like actual white bands here. I understand it's a stylistic thing, but I don't like it. So highlighting. And you're going to do that for all of these fucking pieces. Everything here. What do you like? Style. What's the mood? Y2K, believe it or not. They do it very well. What do you hate? This guy. Um, what do you like? This part. This panel. I like the style. I like the cluster of information. It's dense. How does it feel? Airy. These words that I'm coming up with for the mood don't necessarily have to be like emotions. It doesn't have to be happy or sad or whatever the fuck. That's a very naive way of looking at this. You're just trying to use words to associate, right? Like airy is the word I came up with. It's the first word. And what I hate, texture stretch. I hate that. Stretch. This is the process. So after you have all of this stuff, you're going to condense everything you love, proportions, Y2K, dense, into something in your head on a page. You can make a picture, whatever the fuck you want to do. You can write it as a book, whatever you can. And this is going to be the ideal. This is how you distill knowledge, all right? I think once you have this down pat, it's not too bad. I think the most difficult part is just getting started, right? Okay, another thing for world building. Yes, I know. Yes, please get to the fucking world building part. I will, I promise, but there's not much there without the framework for this stuff, okay? We are making game world building. You can't do the shit. There's certain things you just cannot do in game world building that you can do in everything else. The number one most important thing when it comes to game world building in particular is that you are making a fucking video game. People are playing this thing, okay? People are playing your fucking world. You're not making something that people read. You're not doing something that people can watch. This is the difference between video games and every other medium. You are playing this. You are interacting with this. The player chooses what they interact with in your world. And so a world that is conducive to being interacted with is the best type of world for video games, as opposed to a fucking world that is like, I don't know, character centric. A character centric world, I'll get to what this means later, is very difficult to accomplish in video games unless you're able to write out a lot of the world. And I mean all the way up to the continents, maybe even space. It's a lot to do. We're making things people play, all right? The player is prime, but you can't write absolutely everything around the player. Otherwise, there's going to be nothing to do. And the people who try to make world building, but they don't keep in mind they're making a game. We call these games walking simulators, right? Now, there's nothing wrong with a walking simulator. If you want your game to just be a tour, an interactive tour of your world, the medium is conducive for this. It can do this. If your game is literally just a showcase for your world building talents, that's perfectly okay. But I'm going to assume that the majority of you want to make a game that people play and find fun. And the world is just the place in which they do it. It's a bunch of actors on a stage. Last thing I'm going to talk about for the world building, I promise, is when we're making games, you probably already have this. If you don't, then I suggest making this before you make your world. Think about the mechanics you want. There's mechanics like, I don't know, fucking grappling hook, and a spear and an arrow. I don't know. I'm running out of fucking bombs. Come up with fucking mechanics, secret doors, hidden passageways, eye of truth. Come up with your mechanics, and then you need to categorize these. You're going to categorize them into need, what you need for your game to function at all. Want means what makes the game feel complete. Without this, the game doesn't really feel right. It'll work. It's just not complete. And then optional. Optional is going to be the things that are like window dressing or sparkles or sprinkles, they're polish. You're going to categorize your mechanics. And remember, you're going to get more mechanics as you think of this world. You're going to think of new things and you're going to categorize these into need, want, and optional. Now, this is not a golden rule. I don't think there is a fucking golden rule. I've never seen anybody talk about video game world building before. But what I recommend is world building for things you need. And then secondly, after you're done world building for what you need, you add in the wants on top, right? When we're baking a cake, there's a difference between baking the strawberries inside of the cake and putting the strawberries on top of the cake, right? The strawberries in the cake are embedded into the bread as like little dots and stuff. But on top of the cake, they're very ornamental and they're completely whole. It's up to you to determine what those strawberries are. But just know the way we're building this world, if we're doing what we need, we're going to be building it into the fucking cake. If you do not want a strawberry in every fucking bite, a little piece of a strawberry, not an entire thing, then this is important to recognize and want to go on top. They will be untouched. They can be drizzled or whatever the fuck. Okay, world building. Finally, world building. Whoa, thanks, Luther. Wow. So we're going to talk about the paradigms of world building. So there are different paradigms that we use. There are different paradigms that we use when we're building our worlds. There's world-centric. I'll explain what each of these means in a second. Character-centric, system-centric, myth-centric, theme-centric, or morale-centric, history-centric. And there's like way more. There's an infinite amount of ways to build your world, okay? These are the ones I'm going to talk about because I think these are the most common. In particular, two of these are the most common. But let me categorize these. So let's start with system-centric. System-centric means mechanics first. You're going to develop a mechanic, and then you're going to say where that fits. Think about Kirby Air Ride. Kirby Air Ride has those stars, which when you turn a corner, they boost, right? That's the mechanic. Now, what type of world would people be flying on stars that boost? What's the technology that makes up the stars? How are they boosting? Is there a gas? Is it a liquid? Is there a solid fuel? Who rides these stars? These are all questions that you're asking in service of the system itself. And usually you're going to come up with your wants and you're going to make a system for each of those wants and you're going to explain it in the world and you're going to expand your world out from there. World-centric world building is the classical type. This is what you've seen on YouTube 1,000 times, right? It starts with your continents. Well, actually, no. It starts with a big ball in space, a rock, and then the rock gets hit by a meteor, and then it forms cracks, right? It forms landforms. Maybe you're sci-fi, so maybe this is like a planet or something, and it can be like super wild, like Warhammer. And these landforms are going to be plates, and the plates are going to shift. Volcanoes are going to erupt. Water, like this is it's very scientific world-centric world building. You're thinking of the world, how it came to be, the people who inhabit it, what they evolved from, the cultures, etc. Right? This is the classical world building. Everyone's seen this world building. It's very familiar. It's very deep. It can go as deep as you fucking want, or it can go as shallow as you want. Character-centric. Character-centric world building means you have a character who has whether something about them or they have their own little arc that you want to see done. Whether that be because you want to see the character fucking suffer, or you want to see the character achieve something and give a message to the player, right? At the very end, like a narrative message. This is character-centric world building. It's very difficult to do. But you have this character, you have them in a situation, and the question you have to ask is why? Why is my character in a situation where he has to deliver this message? Why is my character the one to deliver it? Why does the message have to be delivered? You see what I mean? It's a bunch of fucking whys. And worlds that have character-centric world building tend to be very soft. Let's use Geralt, for example. Actually, no, Geralt's world-centric. I don't know why I brought him up. Spyro, all right? Spyro. They had, oh, you even met a Crash, right? And Crash's head is like on his body like this. And it's like really long, right? So we have Crash. We have a fucking character. Or Sonic even, right? We have these characters that exist and we want them to do something. And so the world is in service of them doing something. Sonic runs fast in his game, right? The world exists for Sonic to run fast. And so there's a lot of slopes, there's a lot of loop-de-loops, there's a lot of like scenic dress pieces, and the roads look like this in Mobius. And there's birds he has to fucking free because his enemy is another character. Why they do Eggman like that? That's crazy. His enemy is another fucking character, and now he needs a reason to exist. Like, who is this fucking guy? Well, he's a doctor, or he deals with robots. Like, the enemies in the games are robots. They're characters. The characters in the game are fucking robots, right? Beep bop boop bop. And they need a reason to exist. So maybe this guy makes the robots. Like, you see what I'm saying? The character-centric world building. The character is the one who informs the world. The world constructs around the fucking character. Mobius does not exist without Eggman and Sonic first. Like I said, this one is the most difficult. That's why I went into more depth with it, but because I don't think many videos talk about this, but this is the methodology you have to use. And as you can see, it's very lightweight, it's very soft, it's very expansive. You can go as far as you fucking want with it. We still don't, I don't think we know the planet that Sonic takes place on, or Crash. But is Mobius the planet, or is that just the country? I don't know. Myth. This is another classic. It's very similar to World, but before the Rock, I cut that guy's head off, is a god or a story. A myth doesn't have to be a god. It doesn't have to be a pantheon. It can also just be an old story, right? The point with a story is that you need to convey what this thing is before the world. And the best part about myth-centric world building is that you can conflict. There can be conflicting stories, and that's always super interesting. When we think about Morrowind, I love fucking Bethesda games. That's why I talk about them in every fucking video. When we think about Morrowind, we're constantly thinking about how basically every book in this setting is a tale. It's an author talking to somebody else. Is that his head? I don't know. It's always somebody's account. It's somebody's words. And there's no way to know if it's true or not. Some people just straight up fucking lie in their book. That's the most interesting part of myth-centric world building. Did the god come first or did the planet come first? Like, there can be scholars that debate this stuff, and that's going to be the central point of your world. Everything that happens, from the volcanoes to the water to the people to the cultures that emerge to the food they eat, is going to be in some way influenced by this overarching story or this overarching god, this overarching thing, this myth theme. I think Nier Automata, or any Nier game really, Yoko Taro has this thing where he likes to make you feel misery. He likes to make you feel trapped in cycles like that, like infinite cycles. And he also likes to make you question, is there hope when nothing fucking exists? When there's obviously no fucking sign of anything existing, is there hope still? If you're in the middle of a black void, is there hope? This is the theme. This is theme-centric world building, and he constructs the world around this theme, around this thing that he wants to do. He's not using the character as a vehicle to give a message. The world itself is the message. And it's very interesting. It's very fun. But you need to I don't think you need to be talented, but you certainly need to think carefully behind every decision you make. If the people in this world eat bread, why do they eat bread? Does it serve your theme, right? Does a loaf of bread help your theme in any way? If it doesn't, maybe you should switch out the bread for something else. And history centric, this is just all hist, right? There's entire fucking YouTube channels. What if Hitler didn't kill himself? This is just all history. What if China actually ruled the world? You can play Civilization, you can play Hearts of Iron, you can play any fucking 4X game, right? They all do this. Alt history. What happens if this happened and this happened and this happened? It's a question of what if. I think it's the most boring one to me, but hey, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. It's going to be the most organic, it's going to be the fastest, it's going to be the simplest, I think. Like, even more simple than systems, because basically you're just, everything comes down to a coin flip, right? If it's heads, Hitler didn't kill himself. If it's tails, he kills himself, but his wife doesn't kill herself, and she takes over as the new Mecha Hitler. Like, you see my point? It's very simple. It doesn't have to be that deep. It can be very quick. It's going to be your fastest world building type. Now remember, at the beginning of this video, I said I'm not going to do a whole bunch of fucking talking about how to build your world, because the technicalities are very much up to you. Especially for this one, where everyone else has already fucking told you how to do this. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to do this again. Just watch their videos. There's too many of them. Even if I told you here, you're just going to go watch their videos anyway. Just watch their videos. You'll get it from them. Everybody does the fucking 101. I'm not going to do the 101. And for the love of God, but for all of these, don't forget, if your world is supernatural, if you have fucking magic, don't forget that you have magic. Why, in a world of magic, you need a reason to explain to me why there are farmers in the fields manually picking wheat by hand. What the fuck is the point of the magic if they're doing this by hand? You're telling me no mage has come up with a system to harvest the wheat. No mage has come up with nature magic to automatically grow the wheat and make nobody hungry ever again. You need to explain why your magic is useful and why it isn't. Maybe it's regulated. Maybe the reason you have farmers in your world is because the magic is regulated. Well, let's say that you're in a fucking colony ship in the middle of space, right? You're in one of these things right here. So your civilization somehow had the ability to create a fucking colony ship and a fucking Halo super weapon, but they didn't have the ability to make a spacesuit to freely fly in space. You're telling me they didn't create a Dyson sphere. They didn't surround the sun in a bunch of solar panels. That hasn't happened already. And yet they have a colony ship. Yet they're able to freeze themselves cryogenically and basically be immortal. You're telling me in a world where they have chips that go into the base of your fucking neck and host your consciousness on it, they don't also know how to create synthetic food that isn't made of bugs. You see what I'm saying here? Like, your world is supernatural. Don't forget that it's supernatural, please. Don't just repeat history because, well, our world's like that. Yeah, but you have fucking magic, buddy. Please, but like, be creative. I'm going to give you like a few like maker tips in order to help you be creative, right? I'm only going to do two of them because, like I said, a lot of this is covered by other videos. So, how do you make a fucking creature, right? I think kit bashing is probably the best way to make a creature. So, let's say we have a gorilla. Remember, you don't need to be good at drawing. You can do stick figures if you want. Let's say we have a fucking gorilla. And then we have a shape: square, triangle, circle, half circle. That's not a half circle. That's just another square. Half circle. Okay, I like the half circle. We're gonna put the half circle onto the gorilla. All right, it's a gorilla with a shell, and then there you go. That's your monster, a gorilla with a shell. Think about like, like this is the fastest way to make a creature, and you can flesh out how the creature works or what he does with the fucking shell and all that afterwards. You could also do mechanics first because we're making fucking video games here. Remember? How do you want whatever this thing is? How do you want your character to fight it? Can they stomp the ground and launch the enemy into the air? Is that something they can do? Or maybe this is an enemy where you have to hit a sweet spot. Like, and if they have the sweet spot, and that means they're also aware they have a sweet spot and they know how to hide it, right? They know how to block their sweet spot. How do they block it? Do they use their tail? Do they use their hand? Think about how you want to engage with this creature. Or maybe the creature has a fucking ability. Maybe it can breathe fire, right? How does it breathe fire? What organ does it use? Does it breathe fire through its mouth, or does it breathe it out their fucking hands or something? Maybe it casts fire. We don't know. Think of the fucking mechanic first. Maybe the creature is able to stick to ceilings and it crawls along ceilings. Maybe it can open a mouth, tongue lash you to bring you into its jaw, like a fucking barnacle or something. Like, these are the ways that you design a creature for your video games, okay? I'm sure there's plenty more. You can do thumbnails, wherever the fuck you want. But there are so many different ways you can handle this. These are the ones I typically use. And the last tip I'm going to give you is for how to flesh out a fucking town, because this is difficult. And it depends on the feel of your game, first person, third person. Strategy doesn't really matter too much. Well, I'll give you the tips anyway. So first you're going to come up with a shape. I'm going to close my eyes. Yeah, all right, pretty good. That's a shape. And now we're going to crack it. Let's take a fucking hammer to the shape, right? You hit the shape of the hammer. How do the cracks look? Okay, cool. These cracks are the main roads of your city. And now, you have to think about the traversal of your world. Do you have a double jump? Do you have a mantle? Can you fly? These are things you have to consider, because they will inform how you're going to build your buildings. If you can do these things, then you obviously in a vertical world. You want vertical buildings. You want tall buildings. And if that's the case, you want to build the outside first. So you build the wall, and then you fill in to the city like this, right? You make your buildings going inwards. And of course, everything you've done in your world building over here is going to inform what buildings go where. Most of the time, you just do this. You cluster the buildings together for your flight or whatever. And this is called tall world building or tall city building. But let's say that you weren't doing that and you needed the streets to be wide because you moved fast. You moved laterally quickly. Maybe you're in a fucking vehicle. There's vehicles in your world. If that's the case, then maybe you want sprawl. And if that's the case, you build the big part first on the inside on all these different districts, and then you start building outwards. and you don't really care about the wall. You don't really think about a wall or a border. Like the town can go further. There can be like small outhouses out here. This is called sprawl city building. I gotta stop saying that. So tall and sprawl. This is well, like I said, this is very like bare bones. It's very sparse. There's not really too much to it. I think you get the point more or less. And if you don't, hire a consultant. If you can't do this shit by yourself, just get somebody. Just get somebody to do it for you. Is there anything else you need to note for video games in particular? No, everything else when it comes to world building is literally just world building. Watch somebody else's video. This isn't that video. All right, I'm done.